Previously on Mass Effect 3.
I'd like an answer, Lieutenant Commander. The galaxy has need of exceptional soldiers like you, now more than ever.
I still need time. You'll have my answer soon, I promise.
I look forward to it. Shepard?
Udina, I got your email. Made your decision yet?
On becoming a Spectre? Not yet. It's an honor and all. But I don't know. I need to think about it some more.
It's a big decision. Smart to give it some thought.
During the Genophage arc, we get invitations via email to visit characters on the Citadel. This is one of the scenes. Ashley actually has 2 scenes on the Citadel, but I'll only show you the first one for brevity's sake. It tells you everything you need to know beforehand.
Where things stood.
What do you mean?
You're not a part of Cerberus anymore. Case closed. Full stop.
It's the truth.
Okay. You cut all ties. I accept that. It's just that if you're giving me orders, I need to be able to count on you.
You can't rely on anyone. Sounds harsh, but it's true. It comes down to doing what you think is right. And damn everyone else.
I get that.
Good. As a Spectre, that's rule number 1. When you're back on your feet, we'll talk some more.
Shepard, wait. There's one more thing. I wasn't sure if I should mention it.
What is it?
I have family back on Earth. I haven't heard from them. It's making me crazy. But I know you're busy, Shepard. We can talk later.
I've got time to talk. Who's back on Earth?
Mom plus my 3 sisters. The youngest, Sarah, was away on her honeymoon. Married a military man, Thomas. He got called back in and she was stuck alone. She called me. It's been pretty tough.
I imagine.
I was always there to protect them growing up. Even when I was off on tour, they knew they could talk to me. I told her to come to the Citadel. We could wait for news together.
Have you heard anything about Earth?
We have reports coming all the time on what's going on. Half are wild speculation, and half are probably too optimistic to be true.
We have to believe that we can do something.
When I thought you were dead, I lost hope. I'm telling you. But when you came back, I was ready to believe anything. I mean, maybe this problem can't be solved by some grunt shooting the boogeyman in the face. But if you think it might help, I'm game.
That sounds more like the Ash I know. I didn't hear from you while I was a guest of the Alliance.
I couldn't face you, even when Anderson requested my presence. It was difficult.
It's okay. We're both professionals. We have more important things to worry about.
You're right. I'm just restless laying here doing nothing.
I should get back to it. Take care of yourself.
Will do, Commander.
Commander Shepard. When I heard Earth was under attack, I tried to call. I never got through.
Thane, good to see you staying in shape.
My disease kills slowly. With enough care and a healthy lifestyle, it can be delayed for a few years. Of course, my allotted time has come and gone. Now I exercise because it pleases me.
Thane's another character we can visit at the hospital. Brief recap of Mass Effect 2. Thane is a Drell, a client race of the Hanar. Thane served his jellyfish overlords as a hitman all his life. For the Drell, it's almost a point of honour to serve the Hanar in any way possible, and Thane ended up neglecting his wife and son over it. While Thane was busy delving into the galaxy's seedy underbelly, rival assassins attacked and murdered his wife. Thane promptly abandoned his son to hunt these criminals down. By the time Mass Effect 2 rolls around, Thane is dying of a terminal illness, and is spending his last few months tracking down and assassinating particularly nasty criminals. Shepard helps Thane reconnect with his son, who was about to follow in his father's footsteps and become an assassin as well.
Some people would find this uncertainty freeing. I contemplate what I have done.
I'm back on the Normandy on an important mission. Sure could use you.
I would not be as I was before. I need daily medical attention. And if I know you, you will want to fight the Reapers somehow. You need the best at your side, and I am not at mine.
You don't have to wrestle down Krogan and break their necks. I'm sure we could find you lighter work.
I have family here that I must take care of, Shepard. I have neglected my son, and now he is self-destructive. He may be safe from Reapers here, but I worry. If he dies, when he dies, I want him to know he has a loving father. That means I must give things up for him. I'm sorry.
I wish the best for you, Thane.
You wish. I pray. I appreciate the sentiment, Shepard. Until we meet again.
Okay, seriously. Previously on Mass Effect 3, we cured the genophage. Today, we've got trouble on the home front. It's lucky that the Citadel Coup mission is also the spotlight mission for Thane, because today, I'd like to talk about two concepts that are very strongly related to Thane as a character. One is religion, the other, daddy issues.
Commander, Erdnot Reeve has begun sending troops to Palaven. You kept your end of the bargain, and now I'll keep mine. The Turian hierarchy will stand with humanity against the Reapers.
I'm glad we can help each other out. It's the only way we're going to defeat the Reapers.
That much is certain. To that end, several dry dock ships are ready to help build the Crucible. Garrus will coordinate them.
Yes, sir.
And when the time comes to deploy it, the full measure of our fleet will be there for Earth. May the spirits watch over us all.
I'll start managing Turian support right away, Shepard. You must be exhausted.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
We both know you need a clear head to win a war. There's no room for mistakes here. You should catch some shut-eye. I'll make sure Joker doesn't launch any suicide missions.
Anything happens, you let me know.
No apologies. Did what was right. Hope you do the same if necessary.
Shepard, Commander.
The dream sequences are another example of something that BioWare undermines with their own design. In this playthrough, several beloved characters are dead, and we hear their voices calling out to Shepard as he runs through a creepy haunted forest. For many players though, nobody is dead, and all of the emphasis falls on the child, not as a symbol for everyone that Shepard has lost, but just as a symbol of themselves. And because we only met the child very briefly in the poorly written scene at the start of the game, it just doesn't work.
It's open.
Shepard, there's something you need to hear.
All right.
Is this a bad time?
Thinking of some friends who aren't around thanks to this war.
That's thanks to the Reapers, not you. Are you thinking about anyone in particular?
Caden, back on Vermeer. He died buying us time to defeat Sovereign. Seeing what we're up against now, you might think his sacrifice was in vain.
You know Caden would never think that.
Yeah. That's one more reason I miss him. Didn't you have something for me?
The Solarian Counselor has an urgent matter.
Let me guess. He called the comm room?
The Council must be taking the Crucible seriously. I'll see you downstairs.
Commander, there is something we should discuss, if you are finished rewriting history.
I made my decision, Counselor. There's not much anyone can do about it now.
Yes. We're going to have billions more Krogan in the galaxy. It's a good thing you saved my life once, Shepard. Otherwise, well... I have concerns about humanity's representative, Councillor Udina. My agents have discovered that he's using his authority to move vast sums of money. For what purpose? We're not sure.
Why bring this to me? Put Citadel security on it.
You're instrumental in getting him placed on the Council. It's only fitting. Well, let's not speak of it now. Come to the Citadel and grant me a moment of your time. You may find it interesting. Valorn out.
Alliance Control, this is SSV Normandy. Are we clear to descend? Alliance Control, this is Normandy. We're headed to Bay 1-4, Zakara Ward. Are we clear to descend? What the hell's going on down there? Even if there were a station malfunction, they'd have backups online. I got a bad feeling here. Checking emergency channels. Hey, yeah, this is Joker. Uh-huh. Yeah, no kidding. Commander, there's a communication from Thane. He says it's important. I think you'll want to hear this.
Put him through.
Shepard, the Citadel is under attack. Cerberus troops are everywhere and they're in control of the docks.
Are you safe?
No, I had to evade their commandos at the hospital. I'm in a Presidium storefront.
Did Ashley make it out?
We got separated. She said she had to protect the Council. I'm going to CSEC headquarters.
Why CSEC headquarters?
It's been compromised, and CSEC's response depends on it. As long as Cerberus is holding the headquarters, they have the station.
All right. Joker, get us away from the docks and close to CSEC HQ. We'll deploy in the shuttle.
Aye, aye, Commander.
Daddy issues, or rather, difficulties in the relationship between parent and child, are central to Mass Effect as a series. It's clearest in Mass Effect 2, but I've already discussed a little how similar intergenerational conflicts are at the heart of the major conflicts in Mass Effect 3, and it does pop up a little bit in Mass Effect 1 as well. Another brief summary. Rex's dad betrays his son's efforts to unify the Krogan race and slow their demographic decline because he feels his authority as chief is being threatened. Garrus's dad blocks his son's Spectre candidacy because of his own personal opinions about the Council agents. Ashley feels her family has been blacklisted from promotion because of her grandfather's actions in the First Contact War. Liara's mother tries to kill us on Noveria. Half the cast in Mass Effect 2 are literally in conflict with their parents, and for the other half it's figurative. The two exceptions perhaps are Kasumi and Zaid. Thane in particular is noteworthy for a couple of reasons. Unlike most of the other characters, Thane approaches daddy issues from the other side. He is the neglectful father, and making amends is the object of his loyalty mission, which is named after the Harry Chapin song Cats in the Cradle. It doesn't always pan out the same way for each character, mind. In Thane's case, he was the bad guy. But in Samara's case, it is her daughter, Morinth, who is literally a soul-sucking vampire serial killer. It's never just the parents or just the children that are at fault in these various conflicts. Daddy Issues has a long and pedigreed literary history. You've probably heard of the Oedipal complex. Well, that's not where I want to go with this monologue. Instead, I'd rather go with Hesiod's theogony. Hesiod was an ancient Greek poet and contemporary of Homer, who I'm sure you all know. While Homer is most famous for the Iliad and the Odyssey, Hesiod is the man responsible for a lot of the modern understanding of Greek mythology. Much of the cosmology and creation myths come from Hesiod's theogony, which, to be clear, probably isn't all Hesiod's idea, but rather a collation of many different oral poems and stories from many different authors in circulation in Greece at the time. A third brief overview then. In the beginning, there was chaos. From chaos, there came Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. And from Gaia and Uranus came the Titans, the original gods. Unfortunately, Gaia and Uranus also had other children, the one-eyed Cyclopes and the many-handed Hecatonkaias. Uranus despised his more monstrous children and sealed them away in Tartarus, the abyss beneath the earth. This made Gaia angry, so she asked the Titans to overthrow their father. Cronus, the youngest and bravest of the Titans, agreed. Cronus castrated Uranus with a sickle and threw his testicles into the sea. In these ancient times before mankind, that was enough to make you king of all the cosmos. And the Titans reigned happily ever after. Except, Uranus prophesied that one day, one of Cronus' children would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his own father. Cronus didn't want this to happen, so each time his wife, or sister, mythology is kind of messed up, each time his wife and sister, Rhea, gave birth to his children, Cronus would swallow them whole. Can't overthrow him if they're eaten after all. But, like Gaia before her, Rhea got tired of her husband mistreating their children, and swapped her final son, Zeus, for a rock. Cronus devoured the boulder, and Zeus escaped his father's grasp. Cronus then vomited up his other children, and together the Olympians, the next generation of gods, battled the Titans for control of the universe. In the end, the Olympians won, Zeus was crowned king of the heavens, and he imprisoned the Titans in Tartarus. This is canon. The madness of Cronus is core to the idea of intergenerational conflict in Mass Effect as a whole. The inspiration for the series, that is, Casey Hudson's belief that at some point we will develop advanced artificial life, and this will cause a catastrophic conflict that could potentially destroy humanity. It's the same crisis as expressed in Hesiod's account of the creation of the cosmos. When I say that the Reapers and the Genophage and the Quarians and the various daddy issues all speak to the same thing, this is that thing. When I say that all the conflicts in the game are symbolic of another bigger conflict, this is that conflict. This is the war of belief we are fighting. The fear that we will beget children that inevitably will turn on us and we will be forced to destroy them. It's the fear that drives Casey Hudson. It's the fear that underlies the other conflicts in the game. The Solarians uplifted the Krogan, made them into an interstellar army, then destroyed them when the Krogan threatened to turn their power on the Council. The Quarians created the Geth, attempted to destroy them when they grew too strong, and were thrown off their homeworld when they lost the Morning War. Same applies to the majority of the characters that accompany us throughout the games, if not directly through conflict with their own fathers, then through the Genophage or Quarian arcs. This shouldn't really be a surprise. Again, the atonement with the father is a central part of the Campbellian monomyth. Let's unpack things a little. what's terrifying about the madness of Cronus is the inherent contradiction of it all. For lots of people, having children is a way of continuing your legacy. From a certain perspective, you could say that procreation is the point of biological life. That's not entirely accurate in all senses, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. So to be forced to destroy your own children out of self-preservation, well, it's monstrous. Similarly, for similar reasons, children can be seen as an extension of your own identity. Think of parents who worry about passing on the family name, or get upset if their children express a different religious, sexual, or cultural identity to them. The passage of time means that eventually parents will inevitably become eclipsed by their own children, and if their children are not similar enough, then it's almost as though the parent's identity is being obliterated rather than continued by the next generation. In the real world, animals sometimes engage in what is called filial cannibalism. Fish, pigs, birds and other animals may attack, eat or kill their own offspring for any number of reasons, usually because their environment is disturbed or stressful or dangerous. Consuming their weaker young allows the parent to regain energy resources, eliminates competition for their remaining children, and helps ensure that the next generation will be strong. It's also really messed up, well, certainly to us humans. But one of the most relevant things about Hesiod's account is the cyclic nature of it. Cronus overthrows Uranus, and this act condemns him to repeat history with his own children. You could almost say that Zeus escapes the same fate only because he's so good at keeping humanity ground down under his foot. See the Prometheus and Pandora myths for more on that. But it's this that Mass Effect is particularly worried about. Casey Hudson's fear isn't just that at some point in the future there might be some mean robots that attack us, but that this is structural, built into the universe, an inevitability of technological progression. Again, Hudson's theory is that there are game-changing technological markers that necessitate a paradigm change in order to avoid self-destruction. Nuclear weapons require that humanity learn about the strategy of mutually assured destruction so that they can avoid mutually assured destruction. The creation of artificial life demands that humanity find a way to avoid the madness of Cronus, so that they aren't destroyed by their own creations. The danger isn't just that humanity will cease to exist, but that the second men, whatever they are, will also repeat the same mistake when they in turn create their own artificial life and are forced into a war with the next generation. Now might be a good time to recall all that stuff about Jarvik and his constant talk of cycles, or how the mass relays force different iterations of the galaxy into the same technological and cultural dead-end paths to suit the purposes of the Reapers. The thing is, and I'm not sure whether this eases Hudson's fears or makes them worse, but this intergenerational crisis isn't just some speculative fiction terror, but plays out 1,000,000 times every second right now on planet Earth. Every day, new children are born. Every day, parents die. Thankfully, it's not an existential crisis, as far as I can tell anyway. Parents and children squabble, but there's enough physical space for multiple generations to coexist, and actual violence is rare. But it is one that, like the Titanomachy, is ultimately resolved with the deaths of the previous generation. At the end of the day, parents are doomed to pass away and their children to inherit the Earth. And I think this ties into a second level that is more largely represented by the Reapers than by the Krogan or Aquarians or whoever. Just as the Quarian Geth War and others are symbolic of the Titanomachy, so you might say the Titanomachy represents another, even deeper conflict. But that's something for another update. So Kai Leng is another character from the franchise fiction, but he plays a rather sizable role in Mass Effect 3 as Shepard's shadow. Much as Ashley and Kaiden can be said to represent what Shepard was in Mass Effect 1, a rather by-the-book, straight-laced officer in the Alliance Navy, then Kai Leng is what Shepard was in Mass Effect 2, an underhanded and ruthless operative for an illegal paramilitary group. All relatively speaking, of course. Like, if Shepard had always stayed with the Alliance, they'd probably turn out like Ashley. And if Shepard had remained with Cerberus, they'd probably end up like Kai Leng. This interpretation has a lot to do with my understanding of Shepard as a transformative figure, but let's talk a little more on Kai Leng. Lots of people don't like Kai Leng, and not in the good way, you know, in the sense that he's a villain, so he should be quite unlikable. I think the general reaction is that Kai Leng is a tryhard, someone who will be talked up by Anderson as this deadly assassin, but doesn't actually pull it off in the game. The later encounter we'll have with him on Thessia probably cements this feeling. Personally, I think Kai Leng is hilarious. I think somebody at BioWare, maybe one of the artists, is having a joke with us at Kai Leng's expense. Look at his skin complexion. See those spots? Those pimples? That's Cerberus' #1 agent, their replacement for Shepard. Kai Leng is a spotty, greasy, ponytailed, trenchcoat wearing, Hanzo steel katana wielding poser, a send-up of every wannabe nerd badass with no fashion sense and even less self-awareness. Just look at those silly goggles, look at his bevy of phantoms, his, of course, all-girl posse, driving his cars and striking Charlie's Angels poses around him. How could you take him seriously? His fight with Thane is right out of the 90s, down to the matching long coats, bullet time, hilarious one-liners and faffing around with martial arts. I know Kung Fu. Even the setup with corrupt politicians, car chases and shootouts in office blocks feels like a 90s action movie. All we need is some drug runners or arms dealers and we'd have the set. It's harder to pass because when BioWare normally does comedy, the characters can't stop mugging or nudging you to say, "This is a joke." That's literally EDI's catchphrase. Kai Leng, in contrast, seems to be played straight. Nobody's going to step up and tell us not to take him seriously. I certainly can't. He's just a nexus of terrible 1990s ideas of coolness. I might be wrong, maybe BioWare legitimately thinks Kai Leng is a terrifying presence, but he just seems too rooted in 20-year-old conceits in a series that is generally quite good and careful about whatever works it references and how it uses those references, to not be an intentional joke. While you could probably say that Uranus and Cronus deserved what they got, it's not so easy to say the same about the various reflections of the Titanomachy in Mass Effect as a series. Let's have a look at some of the daddy issues we deal with in the games, particularly Mass Effect 2. As mentioned, Asari Justicar Samara is forced to murder her daughter, Morinth, because Morinth is a serial killer. There's more to say on this, but Morinth, the child, is pretty much the bad guy in this situation. Mordin confronts his protege, Malon, on Tuchanka due to Malon's unethical biological experiments on Krogan women. Again, Malon's the bad guy, but there's an awful lot of doubt about the morality of Mordin's own role in the Genophage, doubt that's largely vindicated with Mordin's arc in Mass Effect 3. Cerberus operative Miranda Lawson wants to rescue her sister from her father's abusive control, but the end result is that Oriana Lawson will spend the rest of her life in the equivalent of witness protection, and Miranda's substitute father, the elusive man, turns out to be no better than the man she ran away from in the first place. And, with Thane, well, Thane was a bad father and a bad person, an assassin who conveniently disavowed all moral responsibility for his actions. He considered his body a tool that others used to commit murder. What's unspoken is that he clearly changed his mind, if not his reasoning, when he decided to go off hunting for really nasty criminals to execute them off his own back. After all, the first time we see him, Thane murders the crime boss Nasana Dantius, then immediately starts praying for his own forgiveness. But Thane's loyalty mission is not about addressing his own moral flaws. In fact, Thane's probably one of the few characters that doesn't really need to be changed for the better by Shepard, not like Jack or Miranda, both of whom need to be taught how to love again. No, Thane just needs help putting it into practice by reconnecting with his son. And the crux of Thane's loyalty mission is finding a way to stop Kolyat from following in Thane's footsteps, from usurping his father's job as an assassin, from repeating the cycle. Thane takes the role of Uranus, Kolyat the role of Cronus. Shepard's job is to stop Cronus from becoming his father and dooming himself in the process. Daddy issues in Mass Effect isn't just about how all dads are bad, or all children are bad, but points to something deeper and more systemic, something that makes victims out of parents and children both. So, religion. Thane's religion is a key marker that tells us, the audience, that Thane regrets his past actions and wishes to make things right with the universe. Again, one of the first things he does when we meet him in Mass Effect 2 is pray. Thane is deeply concerned with the morality of his actions and how it affects his mortal soul. His purpose in the time that we see him is to balance out the terrible things he's done with enough equivalent good acts. In the past, Casey Hudson has outright stated that one of Mass Effect 3's themes was victory through sacrifice. It's pretty on the nose. You can probably already list all of the examples we've seen in the game so far. Certainly all of the major conflicts, the Genophage, the Quarian War, this coup, will only be resolved with the death of somebody important to us. This is largely a theme specific to Mass Effect 3. It's come up before once or twice in the series, but only in Mass Effect 3 does it take centre stage. Some people object to this, but I think there's a beauty to it. It fits well with the apocalyptic tone that BioWare is writing and referencing in Mass Effect 3. This is the end of days, the time of judgment. Characters can no longer stall for time or come back another day. This is when they face their demons, settle their debts, and, yes, die. But that's not what I want to focus on today. Sacrifice is the offering of material objects towards a higher goal. In Mass Effect 3, this goal typically appears to be victory over the Reapers. The characters that die, like Mordin or Grunt or Thane, appear to die for the sake of helping win the war against the Reapers. Lieutenant Victus gives his life disarming a bomb to ensure the success of the Krogan-Turian alliance. This literal understanding of these sacrifices is accurate, but I think omits a second moral dimension. Let's talk about Jesus. Now, I'm not a theologian, though I've never let that stop me before, or even Christian, but from what I understand, the great significance of the crucifixion in Christianity is that Jesus was without sin. Basically, sin is this infinite, insurmountable barrier between humanity and God, stemming from Adam and Eve's fall from grace in the Garden of Eden. Sin is why we're dumb and make mistakes and hurt others and are separated from God. It's ultimately why we get hurt and die. And it exists in some form even if we do our very best and are only ever kind to others and pray all the time. It's the human condition, basically. Ritual sacrifice, the burnt offerings of early Judaism, etc., was a way of reducing this barrier, but it could never overcome sin completely. Sin is just too great, too awesome for humanity to breach it by themselves. So, God sends his Son, who, like God, is without sin, to die on the cross and redeem humanity of sin forever. Jesus, unlike the rest of humanity, unlike animals and plants and other earthly beings, is clean of sin. His mother was the Virgin Mary, and sex is how sin is passed from generation to generation, which may explain a lot about religious conservative attitudes towards sex. But being conceived without sin is what makes Jesus' sacrifice great enough to atone for all of humanity's sin. It's only because Jesus was free from greediness, anger, idleness, selfishness, death, that his sacrifice could save humanity from those same things.
Guess that was their stop.
This confrontation coming up is quite cool. BioWare's created 3 different scenarios, depending on how you've treated Ashley or Kaiden so far. If you've been nice to both, visited them in hospital and generally done everything properly, Ashley will automatically side with you against Udina. If you've been rude, dismissive, ignored them in the hospital, let the council die, got the Solarian councillor killed, or cheated on them romantically in Mass Effect 2, then they're very hostile and you'll be forced to gun them down. If you're kind of in the middle between the two, like we are, you've done some nice stuff and some nasty stuff, then you'll get this scenario where you can choose to convince them to stand down with enough reputation, or shoot them anyway. The tone changes. If you were mean to Ashley, she tells you to go to hell with her dying breath. Here, she brings in the mentor-protege angle instead. I've chosen to allow Ashley to die in this mission for a couple of reasons. One is that Ashley doesn't have a great deal of content after this mission. There's one quite unfunny and stilted sequence where Shepard encounters her with a hangover. Kaiden fares better with his post-Coup content as it happens, particularly if you're interested in another gay male romance. It's a shame because for Ashley there's this lovely conversation you can have all about Shepard's death and what they saw of the afterlife. It was cut for some reason, which is quite sad. The other reason I let Ashley die here is this concept of both her and Kai Leng being light and dark mirrors of Shepard. I think BioWare sees a connection between the two because even in early drafts where this sequence was part of an entirely different mission, Ashley and Kai Leng are set up in opposition to one another. In the original draft, Ashley and Shepard are racing to get the catalyst, which I believe was Jarvik in this version, and Kai Leng, working undercover with the Council, has convinced Ashley that Shepard still works for Cerberus. You then get a similar confrontation as we had here.
Counselor, get the door.
Ashley.
I had to take a stand, Shepard. You taught me that.
Let's compare the story of Christ to Mass Effect 3. No, I'm serious. Most, if not all, sacrifices in Mass Effect 3 are like the sacrifice of Jesus, in that someone willfully dies or puts themselves in a position to die in order to achieve a greater goal. But they are not the same. A lot of the sacrifices in Mass Effect 3 are by people attempting to atone for past crimes. Mordin and Paddock Wicks die at the top of the Shroud Tower in order to cure the genophage, but the genophage is their creation in the first place. Thane ends up dying as a result of his doomed intervention to save the Solarian Councillor, but Thane has spent the last few months of his life making up for his lifetime as an assassin. Even someone like Grunt, who in this playthrough died to ensure the survival of the Rachni, is still a product of the genophage and the Krogan culture that necessitated it. This doesn't make these sacrifices any less worthy, but it's a notable difference. These characters die and keep dying, and the war doesn't really seem to get any closer to ending. The Reapers are still out there, reaping away. These sacrifices don't end the Reaper War, but they do put the galaxy in a better position to end it, and they do make the galaxy a better place, morally speaking. Which is pretty significant if this is in fact a war of belief, a metaphysical war that we are fighting. And it does suggest that this war will only be won if a sinless sacrifice can be found, Someone that doesn't have a crime to atone for, maybe, or someone who isn't weighed down by the immorality of a galaxy, someone who has resolved or cast aside all of these problems. The other comparison we can draw from the Bible is that of Jesus as a transformative figure. Again, through Jesus' sacrifice, individual human beings can be absolved of an infinity of sin. Whether it's through sacraments or prayer, the practice of Christianity transforms a person's very soul. And there's that famous quote from the Bible, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword." Which means that Jesus will bring discord and upheaval despite his love of peace, because of the power and importance of his message. His message is not status quo, but something new that requires humanity to change. Also, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus claims that he will fulfill rather than abolish the law. Now, this is a reference to how he completes the Abrahamic covenant and ends the curse that enforces Mosaic law. Now that Jesus is here, the strictures of Leviticus are fulfilled and aren't needed anymore. Think of it like how it stops being illegal for you to drink alcohol when you turn 18. But the law is still true. It just doesn't apply to you anymore because the conditions for legal drinking have been fulfilled. Which is why we say that turning 18 is such an important milestone. And of course, Jesus is in himself a transcendental figure, both man and God, able to die and be resurrected, a figure that conquers death. Now, you probably know where I'm going with this. Don't think that it's a pseudo-intellectual insight into Shepard. Oh, he's secretly Jesus, how original. He even has 12 disciples in Mass Effect 2. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a common root. I could easily draw a comparison to the monomyth again, which is a framework all about a hero's transformation, both personally and of the world around them. But I think the story of Christ is another potential influence. It certainly permeates a lot of Western culture and art, and it ties in quite nicely with this idea of sacrifice.
Lt.D-L is in with him now. We did all we could to help him through surgery, but his body can't replace lost blood with new cells. Too much shock. His son, Kolyat, he's in there saying his goodbyes.
Thane's last moments are another excellent scene, and a great callback to his original entrance, complete with another misdirect. It's a great scene, I really like it.
Commander Shepard, my father mentioned you were no longer incarcerated. I'm Kolyat Krios. I came by to pay my respects.
It's good that you're here.
Commander, I'm afraid I won't be joining you again.
You've done more than enough, Thane.
That assassin should be embarrassed. A terminally ill Drell managed to stop him from reaching his target.
I'll pass the word along.
There's something I must do before it gets worse. I must... Kalahira, mistress of inscrutable depths, I ask forgiveness. Kalahira, whose waves wear down stone and sand.
Kalahira, wash the sins from this one, and set him on the distant shore of the infinite spirit.
Kolyat, you speak as the priests do. You have been spending time with them.
I brought a prayer book. Commander, would you care to join me? Kalahira, this one's heart is pure, but beset by wickedness and contention.
Guide this one to where the traveler never tires, the lover never leaves, the hungry never starve. Guide this one, Kalahira, and he will be a companion to you as he was to me. Call yet? There's something I don't understand. His last moments were those of a hero. Why pray for salvation?
The prayer was not for him, Commander. He has already asked forgiveness for the lives he has taken. His wish was for you.
Goodbye, Thane. You won't be alone long.